Thank you, Twilight. By Galaxy Knight. Hearth-warming eve has come once again. The streets of Canterlot were decorated with lights and wreaths. A glorious pine tree graced the middle of the town square. Ponies bustled about, talking and laughing. Foals played snowball fights and built snow fortresses and ponies. Occasional couples smothered one another with amazing gifts and kisses. There were several groups of singers chanting carols for both businesses and the overall bright theme of the holiday. Celestia wished so much that she could take off all her regalia, put on a silly reindeer get-up, run outside and play with the foals. She would make funny noises and make the foals laugh. She would sing her heart out alongside the carol singers. She would throw snowballs at her royal guards and encourage them to join in the fight. But she can't. She might mess up something in the streets. Ponies would get too awkward to even speak around her, just because they think they're not equal to her, simply because she is a princess and they're not a princess. So Celestia only watched a pair of lovers from her window. The girl tossed the snowball at her colt friend. He raised his eyebrow at her and came back at her by pouncing on her and smothering her in the snow. Then they lay there and laughed their heads off. Following that, the girl rolled on top and kissed her lover. Celestia felt a smile come on her face. She loved seeing lovers. They were just so cute. But even romantic lovers weren't Celestia's favourite thing to watch. No, there was only one thing that could forever hold a very treasured spot in Celestia's heart. Foals, fillies and colts, children. Celestia didn't care what age. She loved watching the little foals playing and laughing and being wonderfully silly. Celestia wondered if she could just disguise herself as a young foal. No pony will notice, right? Celestia turned away from the window and stared at an image on her nightstand. Inside the frame, teal-ish blue eyes stared back. The mare's fur was blue. Her mane was also blue. She was an alicorn, a pony with both a horn and wings. She was nearly as tall as Celestia. She was Celestia's sister, Luna. Celestia's vision blurred with welling, salty liquid. She felt her throat twist. "I miss you, sister," Celestia whispered, her voice strained. "Please, come back to me soon. I wish sending you away was never an option. I wish I had been a better sister to you." Things would be so much better if Luna was here. Then there would be one pony who was directly Celestia's equal. Going beyond that, Celestia would have at least one biological family member with her. Celestia lay on her mat and brought the picture of Luna close to her heart. A single teardrop dripped from the length of her cheek. Twilight was walking to the castle. She had a gift for her mentor. Twilight spent long enough with Celestia to figure out that the princess's happiness was mostly a mask that she wielded to hide her true emotions, though there were a few times when Celestia told Twilight little tidbits about her past. Otherwise, it was all a mystery. But still, Twilight knew on the inside Celestia felt lonely, and it made sense. She was the monarch of Equestria, with no actual family members. Twilight wanted to make it better by giving the princess a gift. A little while passed until she made her way inside the castle. The filly had been inside the castle before. It was a large, beautiful and cavernous place. So, despite having gone to Canterlot Castle before, Twilight still felt small, frail, and even kind of confused when inside this grandiose place. That's why Twilight had a few landmarks. She looked around and located the landmarks. When she did, It reminded her where she was and where to go next. Twilight turned a few halls and finally spotted the princess's room. She took a deep breath before going up and then raising a shaky hoof to knock. She stepped back and waited a few moments. The halls of the castle were lit with torches since it was evening. The darkness around felt sort of spooky. Twilight looked around as though some ghost pony might come out of nowhere. That didn't happen and the princess finally opened the door. Celestia blinked before smiling. "My faithful student, Twilight Sparkle, whatever brings you here? Shouldn't you be celebrating Heartwarming Eve with your family?" "I did," Twilight responded. "I was doing that the whole day. But then I thought even my mentor deserves a present and some fun time." She finished with a smile. She put emphasis on her words by arching her back and revealing a present box. Celestia was speechless for a moment. She simply stared at Twilight and the present. Her cerise eyes moved back and forth. Her lip quivered like she wanted to say something but had no clue what. After some seconds, Twilight slowly moved forward and nudged Celestia's hoof. "Princess, are you alright?" Celestia didn't know what to say. A present? A present for her? She had not received a gift for so long. Cadence was around and provided companionship, but no real present. And then there is Twilight. Celestia could see with flawless clarity the fancy box balanced on her back. The wrapping paper had suns on it. The ribbon tied over it was spring green. Twilight tentatively moved closer and gently moved Celestia's hoof. "Princess," she called, "are you alright?" She stared up at Celestia with concern in her eyes. Celestia snapped out of her shock and shook her head. She glanced down at Twilight and smiled. "Come in, my dear. Let's settle down with some cocoa and then I'll see your gift." She let the filly come in. Celestia told her to wait on her mat while she went to get cups of cocoa for them. She gave Twilight a fairy tale book to occupy her time as she waited. Celestia made 2 cups of hot cocoa with cream and marshmallows. Once done, the white alicorn returned to her room. Twilight smiled and put her book down. That smells so good." Celestia chuckled. She set the mugs down, one for her and one for Twilight. "Now," Celestia began, "may I please see the present you brought?" Twilight giggled. "Duh! You're supposed to see it." She lifted the box and placed it before her teacher. "Here you go, Princess! Happy Heartwarming Eve!" Celestia was dazed again. She spent another 5 seconds staring at the present. This time, however, she managed to snap out of her trance by herself. Her golden aura came to life and slowly, she started to undo the ribbon. Celestia actually didn't want to do anything to ruin the beautiful exterior of the box, but in order to see inside she had to, though she did untie it slowly. Even after she sees the real gift inside, she was still going to keep the box, the wrapping paper and the ribbon. Eventually she removed the wrapping paper from the top, and then, with a bracing breath, she removed the lid. As soon as her eyes peeked inside, her magic flicked out on its own. The lid clattered to the floor. The present was cookies! White cookies with icing of a variety of colours, and going beyond that, on top of that icing were words. Every cookie had its own individual phrase. "You're the best princess ever. Keep being you, 'cause you're original. The best mentor of all time. Love you as a teacher to the moon and back. Never give up." Celestia had tears in her eyes, but she was smiling. The fire in the fireplace reflected against the glistening liquid that dripped ever so softly down her cheeks. For 5 minutes straight, She sat there quietly and ran her eyes over the cookies, over the small but infinitely motivating and heart-warming sentences. She sniffled while bringing up a hoop and wiping her eyes. The filly watching lowered her ears and shifted closer to Celestia. She leaned over and nuzzled Celestia's hoop. "Princess, why are you sad? Do you not like it? I could always go home and switch it out for something else you really like." Celestia shook her head and sniffled again. "No, Twilight, it's not that." She heaved a deep breath. "It's just, I've never gotten a present like that. But I love it, Twilight. I love it so much. That's why I'm sad. I love it that much." Twilight traced her hoof on the ground. "Wow, then that's a very heavy emotion then. I'm sorry I made you sad." Celestia picked up the filly and squeezed her against her chest. A deep feeling of motherly love bloomed in Celestia's heart. "What nonsense are you talking about, Twilight? Why are you apologizing? This present is perfect. And I told you I'm sad because I love it to the moon, beyond and back. You shouldn't feel bad for making me love something. Think about it this way. I'm both super happy and kind of sad." Twilight smiled and hugged Celestia back. "Okay, Princess." Celestia put her down. "I want to give one of these a try." Twilight clapped her little hooves together. "Yeah, do it." Celestia tenderly lifted a cookie and took a small bite. She chewed around before saying, "These are really, really good, Twilight. Did you make them?" Twilight shook her head. "No, Mum made them, but I helped put on the icing. It was also my idea to write the words on top. I'm glad you loved them so much." She gave Celestia a sweet smile. Celestia craned her head down and nuzzled her forehead against Twilight's forehead. "Thank you, Twilight," Celestia said, tears streaked down her face again. "Thank you so much." Twilight bumped their noses. "You're welcome, Princess." Celestia glanced out to the eventide. We still have a few daylight hours. Do you want to go for a flight outside? Maybe we can build a snow fortress." Twilight stood up and nodded. "Okay." Celestia was rolling around in the snow. Twilight certainly hadn't expected this response, but she was glad to see her mentor so happy. Celestia took off her regalia before coming outside. Now she wore, unexpectedly, a ridiculous reindeer outfit. The Sun Princess bounced all over and laughed like crazy. For now, they were building a snow fortress. Twilight made the castle while Celestia surrounded them with snowballs for protection. When they finished, they demolished it. After that, Celestia swept Twilight up onto her back and rocketed into the starry sky. "Woo-hoo!" Celestia yelled. She did 10 loop-de-loops. She blasted heart-warming Eve carols into the night with her voice. The chanters below sang with the princess. "Heart-warming Eve is here once again!" Celestia cried. Twilight held on tight to her back and sang with her. After about 2 hours, Celestia landed in front of the decorated pine tree. Her long legs sank into the deep snow around the base. Celestia smiled from ear to ear. Her eyes had tears in them as she stared at the tree, and then turned her face up to the moon. "Once again, Twilight, thank you so much." Twilight grinned and hugged her. "Any time for both the best teacher ever and a friend." And there they remained, talking, laughing, and gazing at the starry dark sky and the mare on the moon.